We need like at least 5 or 6 ambulances.
So the paramedics and police arrive to the scene. They find 3 adults and 4 children all hit with the UWOP. Paramedics rushed 5 of the 7 victims to the hospital. 2 was expired. That's why the caller stated they needed 5 to 6 ambulances. So when the detectives arrive to the scene, it's chaotic as you would expect, considering kids are involved. So the officer on the scene tell the detective a guy was on the porch. A car rolled by, let the UWOP loose. He said the victim on the scene is a 15 or 16-year-old young girl and a 33-year-old man who was hit 10 times with the UWOP. So they head inside the house. They see holes in the walls and the ceiling, but no one was hit. They find 2 different types of casings on the scene. Somebody had the stick also. So while they on the scene, they get a call from the hospital. One of the victims says the guy comes over there and works the porch. They said when he pulled up in his red SUV, a black truck pulled up behind him and let the UWOP loose. So they wrapped that scene up. The next morning, as detectives was heading to work, he noticed a black pickup set on fire. He contacted the fire department. They said the truck was set on fire last night, and it was about 30 minutes after that 911 call. So the detective head over to investigate the truck. They find a burnt-up vehicle, but the license plate was still readable. So with no leads yet, they turn to the media.
Our community needs today is for the public or someone to give us the name of the shooter. The callous, cowardly behavior to shoot on that porch should give us all a clarion call to pick up that phone, call Crime Stoppers, and give us a name.
After the media press conference, a woman comes down to the station saying she was there. So they ask her what happened. She starts by saying they was on the porch. The male victim saw the car coming, tried to get up and head in the house. The car pulled up and let the UWOP loose. She said it was 3 people in the car, but the front and backseat passengers had the UWOPs. Here she stated one of them got out the car, went up on the porch, and hit him 5 more times. So the detective asked her how close was she to him at the time of the incident. She stated she was right by him, but she doesn't know who he is. So they end their interview with her. So then the detective head back to the area where this all happened to see if he can get some lead. But he comes up empty there. So the next day, detectives get a phone call from someone saying they have direct knowledge of the suspects. The first was Blair Taylor, 20 years old. Second was identified as Jeffrey Rivers, 25 years old. And the caller states the vehicle used in the incident is in the New Orleans East area. So as of right now, they consider Blair and Jeffrey persons of interest. So they set out to find both of them. The state troopers apprehended both of them driving what resembles to be the vehicle that everybody stated in the beginning that pulled up behind the red SUV, not the burnt up truck. They also searched Jeffrey's apartment and found a UWOP that matched the casings they found on the scene. So they start interviewing Blair first. Tell him there was an incident Sunday. Blair says, I read up on it. 2 people expired and some children, but he doesn't know anything about it. Blair also says, would I be this calm if I did that? So the detective get up and walk out. Then the next detective come in. He starts by asking Blair, why is your heart beating so fast? Blair says he has no reason for all that. So the detective asks him how would he feel if this happened to one of his family members. Blair said, I feel the same as anyone else would feel. So the detective tell him, you just don't care, do you? Blair said, I don't know them people. I don't know nothing about them to feel a certain way about them people. So the detective wrap it up with Blair. Then they go in there to talk to Jeffrey.
You're not listening to me if you asking me the same questions over and over. Maybe I'm stupid. No, you trying to play mind games with me. I ain't trying to play mind games. Everything you ask me again is going to be the same.
So the detectives start by asking Jeffrey, what do he know about the incident? Jeffrey said he wasn't there, but that was his truck. He stated they let Blair use his truck the night of the incident, but doesn't know what happened. So they asked Jeffrey who UWOP was in the apartment. He said him and Blair were sharing the UWOP, but Blair had it Sunday. He also said Blair told him that he got into it with some guys when he brought the truck back. So detectives tell Jeffrey that he knows more. Jeffrey said he told me to go to this website and I could see the incident. So detective asked him, why would he tell you that? Jeffrey said that's because he did it. So they wrapped that interview up with Jeffrey. He ID'd Blair, so the detectives head back in there to take another shot at Blair. He still wouldn't talk this time. Detective get in his face, then walks out the room. They arrest Blair on the M and Jeffrey on being an accessory. So 2 days later, a woman come down to the station with information. She states she heard Blair say what him and Joe did. She said Blur stated that he emptied the clip on your boy. And Joe said, yeah, I sprayed it up back there. So the detective asked her why she didn't come forward earlier. She stated Blur was on the streets and Joe's still out there. They seen him last night by the apartment. They asked her for Joe's description. She said he's about 5'5", 5'6", short twisties in his hair. So they wrap up that interview and check up on Joe's identity.
Yesterday afternoon, NOPD had an interaction with a person named Joseph Nelson.
23-year-old Joseph Nelson has previous convictions for burglary and armed robbery.
So the detectives see the police patrolling the area had an interaction with a guy named Joseph Nelson. So they look up that name, print some photos, and present a lineup to the first witness who was on the porch when the incident happened. So she picks him out of the lineup. She also say he's the one that got out the car and finished the job. So now the detectives reach out to the Warren squad to look for Joseph. The next day, they snatch Joseph up, take him to the interrogation room. The detective come in and tell Joseph he's been arrested on 2 counts of first-degree M and 5 counts of attempted M. Joseph asked, how can they say it was me? He said he had nothing to do with it. So the detective asked him, do we know Blur and Jeffrey? He said, yes, everybody back in those apartments know everybody, but he doesn't hang with them. So the detective asked Joseph the next day after the incident, did you see Blur? He said, I probably did, but we didn't talk about anything. So the detective wrapped that up, charged Joseph. He eventually was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree M, 5 counts of attempted second-degree M, received a life sentence. Blur also was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree M and 5 counts of attempted second-degree M. He received a life sentence. Jeffrey pleaded guilty to obstruction and received 25 months. So 9 days later, an informant ID'd the driver of the car. His name is Michael Finney. He confessed to the detectives, also implicated Blur and Joe as the ones with the oo-wop. He said it was a paid job because the guy on the porch ripped somebody off. Michael Finney pled guilty to 2 counts of slaughter and 5 counts of attempted second-degree M. He received a 20-year sentence. Thank you for watching. Leave me some comments. Hit that like button. Stay safe out there. I'm done talking.
You just don't care. Yeah, like, I know the people. For me to just be like grieving over them. I don't know the people. Never seen the people. Don't know nothing about the people.